What's up? What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the technical area. This is the preview show. We're back after a week off last week. Some technical difficulties, but I'm happy to be back. Excited to be back. Excited to be talking about match week 7 now. It's hard to believe that we're already about to be 7 games into the season. Feels like things are moving really quickly so far, and that's a good thing, though. You start to understand a little bit more about these teams, understand how they'll play, how they'll match up against the other teams, and that's the exciting part for me, breaking down these matchups and seeing maybe if we can pick a couple upsets here, which is always fun, kind of figure out who's going to win each week and how this table is going to start shaping up as we get here into the later months of the season. So without further ado, let's get things started. Let's get going right away in a match week 7. Excuse me, and talk a little bit about what is going to happen here and break down every game that we're going to see this weekend. So let's start on Saturday. A good one here, an interesting one here, I think, with Liverpool, who's won all of their games. They'll be taking on Sheffield United. This one will take place at Sheffield United, so Liverpool going on the road. 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, 12:30 over there. Last time these two teams played was 2007, so not much history here recently. A lot of these teams obviously have changed. For Sheffield United, they'll be getting their captain, Billy Sharp, back. For Liverpool, Divock Origi still out with an ankle injury. Alisson still out with his calf injury. Shaqiri picked up a knock in training. He's uncertain whether he'll be able to play this week. And Keita could make his return this week. So some injury updates there for you guys as we look at this matchup. I mean, it's hard to pick against Liverpool, and I'm not going to do anything other than that. I think Liverpool win this one. Sheffield United defense obviously will play a part in this, but I think this is going to be like Liverpool playing any of the other teams that are newly promoted. I think Liverpool is going to pick them apart early, get a couple early goals, and then cruise on to the finish. Probably a 3-0 win here. Sheffield United's defense has been really, really good. They haven't given up many goals. I don't think they've had a game where they've given up more than 2 goals. So really good stuff from them defensively. They've been managing to scrap some goals here and there to get points and get results, including their win at Everton last week, 2-0. But I don't think they have enough. Liverpool win, continue to stay perfect, and move on to match week 8 in first place. The next game that we have here, the start of the 10 a.m. games on Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. over there in England. Crystal Palace versus Norwich City. Palace will host this game, be at Selhurst Park. Last time these two teams played was 2016, so a little more recently, but not really much to go by there, as Norwich was in the championship for the last couple years. Nothing with injuries or suspensions for either of these teams. Looking at their past games, we took a look on the review show of obviously both these teams' past games. Norwich they'll be coming off a loss against Burnley after that. A little bit of a hangover, I'd say, in their win against Manchester City. A little bit probably carried over to Burnley. And then Crystal Palace, heartbreaking one where they gave up a last-minute goal. And dropped a couple points there to go with a draw against Wolves. I think this one breaks down to the pure facts here that Crystal Palace, they don't score a lot of goals. They're not gonna score a ton on you. There's only been one game where they've scored 2 goals, and that was against Man United back in week 3. Their other games, they've scored 0 goals, 1 goal, 0 goals, and 1 goal. So 2 goals in their other 5 games. That's probably going to be the difference here. Norwich attack should be better than it was this past week against Burnley. Also, Burnley's defense, I think, is probably just a little bit better than Crystal Palace. And I think that's where things shape out here. I think Norwich City end up with a win here, get all 3 points. Crystal Palace will give them a good fight, that's for sure. But I don't think they're going to be able to score enough to keep up with Norwich City, and that's why I have Norwich winning this one. Moving on now to the next game, the next 10 a.m. game here, 3 p.m. over in England. Aston Villa versus Burnley. Aston Villa finding themselves right now in the relegation zone as Burnley finds himself in ninth place after a couple of really good results over the course of this season. They've got a couple wins, couple draws, couple losses. Last time these two teams played was in 2015, so still, again, with this this theme of teams not really playing recently, so not much to go on here. Burnley's injuries or suspensions, just Danny Drinkwater still, his return date is unknown, and his injury is unknown. So not really much to go on there as when he'll be back, but he won't be back for this one. Looking at these two teams, Villa's done a really good job at home this season, minus, I think they had a loss early in the season to Bournemouth, 2-1 at home. But they've done a really good job otherwise at home. Burnley has done a really good job as well. The defenses will play a big part in this. I think that this one ends in a draw because Villa is home. I think if it was on the road, Burnley would win. But I think Villa step it up here. They get a point, and Burnley drops a few points here with a draw on the road. Moving on now to the next 10 a.m. matchup, Eastern Time, 3 p.m. over in England. A sneakily good one here. Bournemouth versus West Ham, the 5th versus the 6th team. A little bit of surprise there in those table standings right now. Looking at the all-time, Bournemouth, they've only played each other 13 times. Bournemouth is 4-4-5 all-time versus West Ham. So pretty even throughout. West Ham has one more win. Bournemouth, though, is 3-2-0 in their last 5 versus West Ham. And their only one loss. Sorry, excuse me. Their only loss that has only one loss ever has come at home. Sorry, started trying to word that a little bit better there. But only one loss against West Ham has ever come at home for Bournemouth. Bournemouth's a tough place to play. Vitality Stadium's a difficult place to go and get a result. I think that this one probably. There's a lot to look at here. No new injury news for either teams or no new suspension news. Only 3 times in the history of this matchup have both teams not scored. Both teams have scored in every one of Bournemouth's matches this season, so expect a lot of goals, which can definitely, play into things, and can definitely, cause results to tip one way or the other, especially if there's a lot of goals by one team early. If you're a betting man, it wouldn't be crazy to bet the scoreline of 3-1 in this one because in the last 4 matches, yes, 4 straight matches that Bournemouth has played in, the final scoreline has been 3-1. So I'm not saying you should, and my prediction will tell you that, but it's possible that Bournemouth could end up with another 3-1 result here, either in their favor or in West Ham's favor, but I got a draw on this one. I think these two teams are very good. I think West Ham wins at home, but I think because they're on the road, similar situation to Villa, I think that West Ham and Bournemouth tie here, get a draw, each get a point, and probably stay around the similar place in the table moving into match week 8. Moving on now, we'll go to Wolves versus Watford, a matchup between two teams that desperately need a win, 19 versus 20. Two teams that I don't think expected to be 19 and 20. We're only 6 games in here, but still, through 6 games, I don't think they expected to be that low. Looking at last year, Wolves lost 2 of the 3 times these teams faced off last year, but it's been a pretty even matchup throughout the history. For Watford, they still have Troy Deeney out. He's got that knee injury, probably going to be out for a significant amount of time. I mean, Wolves need a win. Watford need a win even more because they've played even more poorly, especially after that 8-0 embarrassment to Man City last weekend. But I can't see, Wolves should win this one. That's why I'm going to go with a Wolves win. They should win this one, but who knows? These two teams have performed very poorly, and really anything can happen in this one. It's one of these teams needs to get a win. A draw probably doesn't help either of them in any way, even though it's only match week 7, but I'm going with a Wolves win in this one. Moving down here, Tottenham versus Southampton. Still 10 a.m. games. Ton of games here on Saturday. Not many on any other day. But we have Tottenham versus Southampton, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. over in England. Since Southampton returned to the Premier League in 2012, Tottenham's 10-2-2 against them. Last year, though, they did lose to Southampton 2-1, but the game was at Southampton. This game will be taking place at Tottenham at their beautiful new stadium. For Tottenham, the injuries and suspensions, they're the only one who really has anything worthy to note. Lo Celso, he's got a hip injury, and he actually will be out till November. I think it's a little worse than they thought it was going to be, so he's going to be out longer. That's a little bit of a blow in terms of depth. They've had some trouble. I mean, looking at Tottenham's last few games, their last 5 is draw against Man City, loss versus Newcastle, that at home, draw at Arsenal in a game that they led 2-0, a win versus Crystal Palace, which is a very good win at home, and then a loss against Leicester in a game that they led 1-0. That was at Leicester. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. Both of Southampton's wins that they've had since they returned to the Premier League have been on the road against Tottenham, but I think Tottenham win this one. I think they try and right this ship in some form, but I think they can get a win here. It's going to be a tough matchup, probably a 2-1 in Tottenham's favor, but I have Tottenham winning this one. Moving down now to Chelsea versus Brighton, the last of the 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. over in England games. Chelsea finding themselves in 11th place right now, while Brighton find themselves in 15th place. And I think if you kind of just listen to how both these teams have played, you wouldn't expect that. Brighton, I feel, has been very good. They've controlled a lot of the possession in all the games that they've played this year, just haven't been able to finish. And I think, in large part that is due to something that we'll talk about in a tiny bit. Chelsea, let's talk about the all-time matchup so far. Chelsea's 10-1-1 all-time versus Brighton. Their only loss, was back in 1933. Their only draw was was the game after that they played. I'm not sure when that was, but they've won 10 straight. Their last 10 games have all been wins. They've won 10 straight against Brighton. Since the return to the Premier League, Brighton have been held scoreless in 3 of the 4 matches versus Chelsea, and they've never, ever, not in the 12 times that they played dating back to 1933, Brighton has never scored at Stamford Bridge. Taking a look at the injuries here, and this may, obviously plays a little bit into, what I will be talking about with Brighton in a little bit. Chelsea's injuries, Loftus-Cheek is still out to November with the Achilles injury. Emerson picked up a hamstring injury. He'll be out a little bit. I think Kovacic is still injured a little bit. And Antonio Rudiger, he has a groin injury. His return date is unknown. For Brighton, Leandro Trossard's still out. He's got that groin injury. He'll be out still into October. And I think that's really the key for Brighton, and a reason why Brighton has had some troubles. Some struggles. They've controlled a lot of the possession, haven't been able to capitalize on that. I think that's due to a lack of Trossard in some part. Their 2 losses before his injury were Southampton, where there was a red card in that, and then, of course, Manchester City, a very good team. Since then, they haven't had a good run of games. They drew versus Burnley, and drew at Newcastle. 1 goal against Burnley, no goals at Newcastle. I think that Brighton probably won't score again. Trossard seemed to be a key part of them unlocking other defenses, and I think that Chelsea get the win here. Grab another 3 points, move a little bit further up in that table as we move forward in the season. Final game on Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. over in England. Everton versus Manchester City. This will take place at Goodison Park. Good news for Everton fans. Every win for Everton against Man City since 2011 has come at home. Bad news for Everton fans. They're 2-3-5 in their last 10 versus Man City. So, if you're an Everton fan, you're hoping that 8-0 win, they got a lot of goals out there. They may not be able to find the net in this one. Doesn't seem likely for Everton. Jean-Philippe Gbamin still out with the hamstring injury. He'll be out till late November. For Man City, Stones has that muscle injury. He'll be out till October. Mendy picked up a muscle injury. His return date is unknown. Everton have looked terrible. Man City had that loss at Norwich, so they are beatable. They've had the loss at Norwich. They are beatable, but they just beat Watford 8-0. Can't see Everton figuring things out enough. They might be able. At the time of recording now, this is Wednesday. They just picked up a win against Sheffield Wednesday in the League Cup. So they seem to figure things out. Got a couple goals there, granted. Listen, I'm not telling you Sheffield Wednesday is Man City. But I think they'll be able to figure some things out, and I think that probably helped them a little bit. But they're not going to be able to figure it all out. Man City win this one. I think it's pretty easy, probably 3-1. And Everton's struggles continue as they move forward in the season. Now on to Sunday. Leicester will take on Newcastle at home. That will be at Leicester, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. over in England. Leicester is 7-0-3 in their last 10 versus Newcastle's, 3-0-2 in their last 5, losing both games at home versus them the last 2 seasons. No injuries or suspensions to talk about in this one. Leicester's up in third place. They've been playing really good soccer. To make this short and easy, Leicester's going to win, I think. I think Leicester's going to win. I think they're going to be dangerous. I think they're going to score a couple goals. And I think that's going to be, I think they'll probably get a win at home. If it was at St. James's Park, it'd be a little bit more difficult. But I think because they are at home and Leicester's stadium, King Power Stadium, it was just slipping my mind there for a second. I think because they're at the King Power, they'll get a win in this one. Finally, Manchester United versus Arsenal on Monday. This is the big one for the weekend. 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. over in England. Man United is 3-1-1 versus Arsenal in their last 5 games. But Man United did lose to Arsenal in their last game facing Arsenal, which was last year at Arsenal 2-0. This game will be taking place at Old Trafford. And for some background, the last Arsenal win at Old Trafford was back in 2015. Take a look at some of the injuries. Shaw is still out with a hamstring injury, but could be back this week. For Arsenal, it gets a little bit more blurry. Lacazette is out with the ankle injury. He'll be out till October at least. Kolasinac may not be fit for this one. But some good news. Bellerin, Tierney, and Holding all got time in their League Cup win this past week. They all should be fit to be selected on Monday. So that's a big boost to the defense with Tierney and Bellerin, and probably a big boost to the offense because those guys are two really good guys going forward. Bellerin, obviously a little less of a defender, more gives you more of that attacking threat. In terms of attacking, Lacazette's going to be a blow losing him, but because they have Pepe and they have Aubameyang, they'll be just fine. I think, if you look at the last 5 fixtures for Arsenal, the win last week saved them from a terrible skid. After their win versus Burnley, they lost at Liverpool. They drew versus Tottenham in a game that they had to come back from 2 goals down. They drew at Watford, which Watford's very, very bad. And they got this win against Aston Villa in a game that they probably should not have had a win. So definitely something to look at there for Arsenal. Not playing too well, but then again, neither is Man United. They've been pretty bad also. They have 2 wins on the season. They're 2-2-2. Their 2 wins have come against Leicester and Chelsea, so pretty good wins. But their losses have come against West Ham and Crystal Palace at home. Their draws have come against Wolves, who's currently in 19th place, and Southampton, who's not very good at all either. I think this one ends in a draw because both these teams are struggling, not having a good go of things. So I think we get a draw on this one. Probably an exciting draw. I think both teams will score, but a draw nonetheless. And that is your final game to preview for match week 7. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you guys got good information. Again, as I always say, something to talk about at the water cooler if Premier League ever comes up. But for now, that's all we have. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And we will talk to you guys next week. Peace.